Alright, I am officially pissed. I'm definitely ready to rant, and I might be going to the dark side. What's up, everybody? Today I'm here to talk about Rise of Skywalker and something that came to my attention that really pissed me off. So this will be kind of a rant video. And also because this brings some clarity to what was going on behind the scenes, and it makes me understand a little bit more why this movie was such a mess. If you saw my review, you probably know I wasn't pleased with the film. The movie was all over the place. You know, they were jumping from one thing to the other, wipe really quickly, and then before you even process one scene, okay, move on to the next one. We have more. I was like, this is a disjointed mess, and the movie is so deceiving, you know, so deceiving with nostalgia and beautiful visuals, and you're just like, wow, that is so cool. I love 3PO. There were some scenes that were so nice, but when you really think about the story, they took a piss all over Anakin Skywalker's sacrifice. They took a piss all over Luke Skywalker, and a Palpatine ends at the end. That's why I cannot like this movie. You know, there is no way that this is called The Rise of Skywalker. This should have been called The Fall of Skywalker, and that's why I don't like this film, and that's why I don't accept this film, and no one is going to change my mind. That said, I learned about this. I'm getting a little agitated. See how these things take me to the dark side? I first heard about this last night. Shout out to Jeremy. Geeks and Gamers was doing a stream about this, but it was very late, and I was like, I'll catch up with this tomorrow. I don't know what's going on. So today, I finally had time to read through this thread, and I was like, this makes total sense. Now I understand. I mean, we all knew there were problems behind the scenes. You know, when you have actors speaking up, when you hear about reshoots, things are going on, you know, and not only that, there are articles everywhere mentioning the release JJ cut. So apparently the movie that we saw was not the movie that JJ had originally designed, and that is because executive people from Lucasfilm, you know, were the ones making these decisions and mostly changing it in the editing room. Now, if you know anything about filmmaking, is that there's two types of directing. There is on-set directing, and there is the editing room directing. When you're editing a film, there's the second time where you're actually directing a movie again, because you can change things, you can organize things in a way that will either make more sense or not make sense at all. And when I left The Rise of Skywalker, I was like, my God, this movie looks like there's chunks of it missing. You know, there's so many things that does not pay off. There's so many things that doesn't make any sense. One thing, for instance, Finn, right, says, there's something I need to tell Rey. I was gonna call her Rose, whatever. But that doesn't pay off at the end. And people were thinking, including myself, that what he had to tell Rey is that the fact that, oh, I'm in love with you. You know, and she was going to friend zone him. But no, according to John Boyega and J.J. Abrams, he was going to tell her he was force sensitive. How amazing would have been to see that. You know, this is something that has been planted on The Force Awakens, never paid off. So I don't understand why they didn't pay that off. It's just, it's stupid to me. Another thing that doesn't make any sense, you know, Lando, at the very end, talking to that girl, I thought he was hitting on her. I was like, that is so weird, the way he's talking. I was just so weird. Apparently she's supposed to be his daughter, you know, the lost daughter that we never even heard this story. I was like, what? It really pisses me off when these executive people, you know, because they don't care about you, they don't care about these franchises, they don't care about what these characters mean to you or what entertainment means to people. They care about money, and money, they're getting their money, right? It's making almost $1 billion because people are watching the movie. So of course it's making money. I don't really care if it makes money. It's irrelevant to me, but it does piss me off that no, they took a piss all over what George Lucas created, and people think that this is a good movie. I don't get it. Anyways, Now, before I get to these, I also wanted to say that John Boyega has been throwing some shade at Disney. We heard that a little before the movie came out. So this is what he said, right? The Force Awakens, I think, was the beginning of something quite solid. The Last Jedi, if I'm being honest, I'd say that was a bit iffy for me. I didn't necessarily agree with a lot of the choices in that, and that's something that spoke to Mark Hamill a lot about, and we had conversations about it. And it was hard for us all because we were separated. Then he also throws shade at the Reylo thing, okay? Star Wars romance, where with a huge spoiler, the movie has been out for like a week and a half, and look at the spoiler over here, where Kylo dies, and he basically throwing shade at the romance over here, because if you really think about it, this romance is wrong. I know he gets redeemed at the end, but you know, it's just not the right message. You know, I the only thing that was enjoyable for me in this new trilogy was Adam Driver, because I think he's a great actor, and I enjoy Kylo Ren. I thought he was the only interesting character, and Finn was an interesting character until they destroyed him, but I still enjoyed Kylo Ren, and I didn't want him to die because I didn't want the Skywalker lineage to die, you know, even though I know he deserved, but it was just, oh my god, they did everything that they wanted. They eliminated all the original characters, and they eliminated the Skywalkers at the very end. No, thank you very much. This movie is not part of Star Wars for me. I don't consider this Star Wars, and if I have kids, they're never gonna see this. Anyways, that said, also JJ said that the criticism, you know, it is fair, is right. People are right to be criticizing. He said that as well, because he also said, we knew that we're not going to be able to please anyone else. Oh, and on top of that, we also have Mark Hamill talking about how he was displeased with the way Luke Skywalker has been portrayed over this trilogy, correct? So he's being very open about it. He even said it's not the same thing without George. And he just, oh my God, this really gets on my nerve. But anyways, so taking the fact that the actors have been speaking up, taking the fact that we heard about reshoots, this thing over here to me has some validity, because even the leaks were true, right? If the leaks were true, perhaps the person that is doing this is the same person that leaked everything, and perhaps this person really has some insight of what was going on. There was definitely problems behind the scenes. So let's get to it. So first is saying here, the leakers from The Rise of Skywalker had an agenda and are tied to Disney directly. So according to them, they worked on this production. My source confessed that they have an agenda as well, as in that struggle with ignoring what's been happening to someone who they think doesn't deserve it. Of course, they're talking about JJ here. And then they are saying that JJ treated everyone and on and off set with respect. Some of my sources' agenda is that what Disney has done to JJ and how much they screwed him over should be something people are at least aware of, whether you like him as a filmmaker or not. Now, I'm going to say this, okay? I never had a problem with JJ as a filmmaker. You know, I've always enjoyed his film, and I think that at least he's able to make a coherent story. And that's another reason why I didn't understand Rise of Skywalker, because it does not feel like a coherent story. It does not feel like the end of a saga, and it does not feel that it pays off the things that was set up at the very beginning. It just doesn't. Why is this called The Rise of Skywalker? If you kill all of the Skywalkers, why did Ben Solo had to die after he redeemed himself? Why did Leia had to sacrifice her life so her son was going to die anyways? How does that make any sense? It would have been way more from a filmmaking standpoint, right? If she's sacrificing herself so her son could live, that is something that is way more understandable and a better arc in my opinion, okay? I was completely pissed off that they killed him off for the reason that by killing him off, he was the last Skywalker for real, okay? In the end, a Palpatine wins. Man, this... okay. Let's get back to this reading over here. This stuff really pisses me off. All right, so I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's accessible to everyone, but I'm going to get to the most important points. So according to this over here, right, Disney was sabotaging J.J. Abrams because J.J. Abrams there's a rumor that he will be moving on to Warner Bros. To relaunch the DC universe, specifically making a Superman film. I hope not. I don't know if I want him to make a Superman film. I'm not sure. I think he's capable, but I don't know. Please, Superman is another of my top characters. It's just, I don't know. Anyways, but the rumor is that he's supposed to go to Warner Bros. To launch a DC universe. And the DC, if it's done well, you know, you have Batman, you have Superman, you have Wonder Woman, these characters that have been established for so many years. People understand and know the symbols. You know, you don't even need to do anything. If you show someone the S, people know what that means, okay? If you show the Batman symbol, people understand that these characters are being more than established. What we need right now are good movies to create a universe. So according to this, Disney thinks that if the DC universe has a very strong and established universe, it could potentially be a great competition or a bigger competition to Marvel, especially now that the great era of Marvel is ended. You know, Thanos is gone, Iron Man is gone, Captain America is gone, so all their classic characters are kind of sidelined, and now it's kind of a new era. So unless they bring these characters back, I don't know, is Marvel going to continue to have the same sort of appeal now that Iron Man is not in the picture? I don't know. Are we gonna have another snap moment? You know, so if they have a Superman movie, you know, and with a great Justice League established, it could potentially be great competition. Okay, so according to these leaks over here, Disney was actually sabotaging JJ so he wouldn't get higher, so the DC universe would continue to struggle. I don't know if that's completely true, because JJ Abrams, in my opinion, is not the only person capable of doing that. You know, I think there's many talented people out there. All you need is someone that understands comic and actually have love for the source material. That's what you need, and I'm pretty sure there are people out there. JJ Abrams is not the only person, so I'm not sure if this is the reason. So, but some of the things that are written here completely make sense, and I believe it may be true. But anyways, that's what they're saying here, right? So Warner Bros. Wants JJ for some DC projects. My source said that this generation Star Wars is the MCU, and Marvel's biggest threat is a well-operational DC. Just like I said. So blah blah blah, okay, and their goal is to make JJ look bad to potential investors and shareholders. Okay, all right, so let's continue. So my source mentioned this shortly after the premiere. The Rise of Skywalker we saw last night was not the Rise of Skywalker we thought we worked on. JJ was devastated and blindsided by this. Now, like I said, I don't hate JJ Abrams. I think he's a talented person. I never did. I even enjoy The Force Awakens. I don't agree with what he did to Luke, and I don't like the fact that he didn't give us a reunion. But I am 100% sure that he couldn't do everything he wanted. You know, he doesn't have that kind of freedom when you're working with studios. George Lucas said that many times, and that's the reason why he wanted to stay away from studios. That's why he wanted to do his own thing with Lucasfilm. That's why he created Lucasfilm, so he didn't have to, you know, abide by the white slavers. Remember when he said that? He sold it to the white slavers. Anyways, so I don't even know if I can blame JJ for the mess that is Star Wars, because I don't know how much of a say he has in creating these stories. According to this, and I totally believe all these executive people have been behind the whole time. You know, apparently because of the Force Awakens success is where Rian Johnson had more freedom, because it made so much money, right? And then Rian Johnson comes in and basically screw it up. I hate that movie. Last Jedi is just, I knew it killed Star Wars, and you know, now we are in this mess. Okay, let's continue. He's been feeling down over the last 6 months because of some of the ridiculous demand Disney had that changed his movie story. While the scenes were shot, a lot of the changes were made in post-production, in the editing room, right? So that's the second time where you're directing the movie. And the audio was recorded and altered. My source said that they've never seen anything like this happen before. He's the director, and he wasn't in the know about what they were doing behind his back, which is very, very insane, because you know, the director should be the one that has the say over the final cut. Now, this is not unheard of. This kind of stuff happened all the way back to the original Superman. This movie over here, Richard Donner, you know, in the second film, you know, there was a problem between studios and all of that. And, you know, that's why we had later on, years later, we had the Richard Donner cut. Because that movie, it wasn't completely going to be, it was not his vision. The same thing happened with Justice League, you know. That's why we have the hashtag release the Snyder cut. Apparently, it's way longer and it at least makes more sense. Because, you know, Warner Bros. Was so desperate to be Marvel that they didn't even finish their own story. They messed it up. They changed the tone and it just, oh my God. And they gave the Superman with the worst CGI who could possibly, you could totally see these are people that are not involved in creative process. These are executive people that don't understand it and don't care. They think that the customers, they will consume whatever, you know, and they're partially right because Rise of Skywalker is indeed making money. I don't know if it's going to make the same money that the others did, but it's still making money. But whatever, let's continue here. So apparently JJ felt threatened over months leading up to the premiere. Rian was never meant to do episode 9 despite some rumors that he was. JJ was brought back by Iger, not Kathleen Kennedy. Disney insisted on more fan service, less controversy. Okay, fan service. I am not against fan service when fan service work on the story and when it's subtle. I think fan service is something that it's that little moment that should make the audience go, ah, and that's about it. But when the movie is just fan service, it's just using that because it doesn't have a coherent story, that's where the problem is. And there was a lot of that in The Rise of Skywalker. JJ's original agreement when he signed on was indicating he would have way more creative control than what he did in The Force Awakens. So see, this is what I mean by I cannot blame him for everything that happened in The Force Awakens because I don't know how much control he had over it. It became evident this wasn't the case only a couple of weeks into shooting when the trouble with meddling started. JJ wanted to do some scenes he thought were important, but Disney shut it down, citing budgetary reasons. Of course, that's what they always do. That's probably Kathleen Kennedy here, right? Always putting her finger on it. You know, Kathleen Kennedy is also the biggest reason why Star Wars is dying right now. You know, I think she had an agenda against George. That's what I think it was. And that's why she got Rian Jones to come and destroy oh my God. Okay, let's continue. May 2019, JJ argued that those scenes were crucial. He had to let go of some of the scenes. The other scenes he insisted was approved at first. He did reshoots and additional photography in July, and we heard about that. Remember, the reshoots were happening. The new scene was shot at BR in October. What's BR? Bad Robot, I guess. The ending that will blow your mind was part of this. Now, this is what pisses me off big time, because if this was supposed to be part of the movie and Disney cut it out, man, this is... Okay, so older actors were included, Hayden, Ewan, and Samuel, and anyone who wasn't animated. The Force Ghosts weren't meant to be voices because they were shot that footage on camera. Can you imagine if we find out that these leaks are actually true? You know, can you imagine if JJ, after his contract is done, really says, yes, there is a JJ cut? Can you imagine that? And we find out that Anakin Skywalker was indeed supposed to be there. That would have been a way more satisfying film, because that way the Skywalkers are involved in the fall of Palpatine. It would make more sense, but nah. The actors were in costumes. Rey was supposed to be surrounded by Force Ghosts to serve as a sort of a barrier between her and the Sith surrounding them. This sounds a lot like the Harry Potter. Remember when his mom and dad and I think uncle come to help him? It sounds like that, but whatever. If it were supposed to make sense, I hated those things with the voices there. That is not enough for me. That is not enough. They just wanted Rey to shine all alone by herself to destroy, because she's so whatever, man. I am not going to read the whole thing, but I want to get to the Reylo part because I don't want this video to be too long, but you can read this. It's very interesting. There's a lot of stuff over there, and that's where it talks about the Lando daughter, where I said it earlier. But let's talk about the Reylo. JJ was against the Reylo kiss, or Reylo in general. This was Disney's attempt to please both sides of the fandom. So the people that love the love story, you know, I think love story is always a good thing and always a great addition, but I cannot see a love story between Kylo Ren and Rey because it wasn't set up properly, especially because he was torturing her. It's weird. It's not a good message, especially on a Disney film, you know. So that's my problem with that. And I don't even care about the kiss, because by that point I was so over the movie, and I was even more pissed that he dies seconds later. I was like, are you kidding me? So that's how the Skywalkers ended, right? That, wow. Brilliant choice. It was, man, you can tell. I don't understand, why would Disney buy Star Wars if they wanted to destroy the Skywalkers? You would think that if they treated these characters with respect, they would make more money, but go figure. I still don't get it. JJ was not happy with The Last Jedi, where The Last Jedi took the story. The final result is a mix of that story and the story told by Disney and whoever they try to impress. Certainly not the fans, that is true. JJ is gutted over this final result. Star Wars meant a lot to him. He had to sacrifice large chunks of the story in The Force Awakens, but he was promised more creative control of The Rise of Skywalker, and instead the leash they had him on was only tightened as time went by. A source said that this is the one franchise, the one piece of his work he didn't want to mess up, and instead it turned into the worst nightmare. When he found out that he was blindsided with the cut they presented, he said, "What the F?" When Kylo was fighting the Knights of Ren, which did nothing in this movie, by the way, at the end, the Williams music that was used for it was not what he wanted at all. He seemed to think it was out of place. The JJ cut exists and will always exist. We most likely will never see it unless someone accidentally leaks it. Please, please, someone leaks this, please. Can you imagine the rage of Star Wars fans if we find out Hayden, Anakin Skywalker, that was at the very beginning, was there to end the whole thing? Man, that's going to piss me off. There's something else in here that I wanted to read for you. I just want to find, which was JJ went into the... Apparently he was really pissed, so he went into the meeting and said, why don't you guys write directed by Lucasfilms and executive people instead of directed by J.J. Abrams? It's here somewhere. You will find it when you see it. I can also put the link to this on the description below. This is what's going on, guys. This really shines light on what's on the mess that was this trilogy all along. You know, this really, I hope that people understand, because I go to film school and I understand how it is when you get someone that wants to pay for a movie for you. That person usually wants control over a lot of things. They want, merchandising to be put in there, and unfortunately it became this thing where it is under Disney control, and because Disney is funding it, of course they are not going to allow J.J. Abrams to do whatever they want. So I totally believe that it might not be every single thing here true, but I believe that at least most of it over here makes sense. It makes sense with the criticism from John Boyega. It makes sense with the criticism from Mark Hamill. It just makes sense, and it pisses me off, and it just makes me sad. And it is what it is. I mean, what can you say? This franchise is dead and over. I don't know what are their plans going forward. I don't know what's going to happen to The Rise of Skywalker, how much more money we'll continue to make. Man, whatever with this. But I am very excited to see this storyline unfold, because just like with the Snyder cut, now we have Snyder himself saying, yes, there is a cut, and he's always throwing these images. Can you imagine if the same thing happens with J.J. Abrams? That would be amazing, especially if we really find out at the very end, Ewan McGregor and, Hayden was supposed to be there to actually help end Palpatine. Man, that would have been a whole different film. I'm not sure if it was going to be a perfect film, but way better than what we got. Anyways, guys, that is it. I think I'm going to end this video right now. Drop your comments down below. Sorry for getting a little bit annoyed, but yes, this is my true feelings when it comes to these things. Star Wars keeps breaking my heart. I mean, more specifically, these people in charge of Star Wars. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that thumbs up, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Bye.